Angelo, it's so great to see you.
It's a privilege for me. Yeah, thank you.
We go back a long way.
Yes, absolutely.
As they say in golf, we're both on the back nine. Do you recall when we first met?
I remember that was February 1980. And at that time, I remember that 2 months earlier, I received a telex from Italian Trade Commerce advising that I had to receive a visit by a guy, no more specified, from New York, that not exactly, they didn't say me that it was a white writer or someone especially interested in wine, but just someone from New York that I like to visit Gaja winery and in the morning and in the early afternoon to visit a cooperative in close in Santo Stefano Bergo. It happened that the day he arrived, during the night, we had snow, and from the hotel they called me and they told me that the guest was unable to move because of the too much snow. So I went to pick him, and we arrived in Barbaresco around 10 o'clock in the morning, and we started talking. And I realized immediately, because of the questions that he was asking, that he was someone interested in wine and having curiosity. And we started talking. We went in the cellar, and I remember that he was not surprised, but he could see that we had some stainless steel tanks that at the moment in Italy were the beginning and so on. And he had the impression that Gaja winery was in a trend to more equipped and looking to be more modern. And we talked together and so on. And after it arrived at the time of lunchtime, and I asked him if he liked to stay there with me, and he told me that he was not interested to go to the cooperative. I had to call the cooperative and telling that it was not, and we had lunch together. After lunch, I accompanied him in Asti, where he had to stay for the night, another hotel.
Stop. At this point, did you know who I was by then or what I was doing there?
I had no idea. No, sorry, I am very sorry. I had no idea at all. But I had absolutely. I reached the impression. I had absolutely that you were someone that were interested in going deep in trying to understand what was happening in the field of Italian wines.
Okay, so I remember that we ended up having dinner.
Yes.
And you drove me to a restaurant about an hour away or something.
Not an hour, was less.
It was the middle of the night.
Yes, that's right. It's true.
There were no lights on the road. There were no lines on the road. You were driving 150 miles an hour, and I was scared to death. I really thought I was going to die. And I begged you to slow down, and you wouldn't slow down. And then we had dinner at this great, small countryside restaurant. And what happened at the restaurant?
It happened that when we arrived there, the owner of the restaurant came to the table, offering and telling what we had to eat and so on. And but he asked the responsible, the owner of the restaurant, "Can I have a wine list?" And the owner said, "I am the wine list." He was very surprised. I was a little bit embarrassed because the question, and he was right to be surprised. But at the end, the owner of the restaurant introduced some of the wines matching the food that we had. During the meal, he get up two times at least, telling that he had to go to the bathroom. But the reason was to have a look to the other 5 or 6 tables that were eating exactly the same food that we had during our dinner, but with different wines. So at the time when the owner of the restaurant came back again, asking if he liked the food and the wines and so on, and he said, "But sorry, why you said us that you choose the best wines to match the food, but you gave to the other guest the same exactly
Food, but
food,
but
why,
different wines.
Why you changed the?" And immediately, the owner of the restaurant told me, "What kind of guest have you introduced me here?" Being surprised. But the question was very excellent.
Yeah. So,
And we started there. And yes, and we started to become a little bit a friend there.
Yeah.
And I understood immediately that the guy I had in front was not nobody, you know, that was someone that in the field of wine could do something special. And in fact, he did it.
I mean, those were very early days, but I remember that after visiting you, I walked away feeling you were something special. And of course, in those days, Italian wines were nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. I mean, I don't even know why I went to Italy. I mean, they didn't have any, you know, it was really, I was interested in higher quality wines.
Can I tell you?
Yes.
In 1979, end of 79, November, I believe, I was here. And at the time, I met Bonsal Segerman, that was a broker working for wine and so on. And we worked together for a short time. And he introduced me to Sherry Lehman. And I remember that I entered the shop. I could see that the bottles, the prestigious bottles, were closed, you know, there and so on. And he asked me to get up on the stairs outside. And we went to the first floor. There was a small room there full of bottles, samples, books, and so on. And Sam Aaron was there seated. And he made a free seat for me. I seated there. He opened a bottle of champagne, I believe for Bonsal Segerman more than me and so on. I had the not the impression. I could understand that he knew my name, but Sam told me, "This market is not ready for you. It's not ready for Italian wines." So.
And nobody, and Barbaresco,
no, Barbaresco was totally more than an underdog.
It was nothing. It was
nothing. Nothing absolutely.
Yeah.
So it told me, but I remember always, but if you will spend the time and energy in this country, it's possible that in future you will be successful. I remember always that. It was the time that the definition of Italian wines were cheap and cheerful. It was not exactly what
it was
I was
the straw
showing.
bottles. It was Chianti.
Yes,
in the Italians.
Fiasco.
In
Yes,
the Italians.
Fiasco, the bottles of
And that's about the time the Boa started to take off.
So it was the time. It was a difficult that time. We were lucky because the country in the producers of Italian wines in the meantime did an incredible effort to renovate and
So
to
when
do
you
so on.
when you went to see Sam Aaron at Sherry Lehman, and you were trying to sell him Barbaresco, do you recall about how much it was going to retail for in those years?
I believe that in the 80s, the retail price for a bottle of Gaja Barbaresco was around $25 or $30 maximum.
When the Italian wines probably were $3 or $4.
$2, $3.
So what did he say when you said, I want you to buy 5 cases of my wine and we're going to retail it for $25, $30?
I believe that the work that I did at the time in 80s, I started with the I worked at the time with Neil Hampson, and he helped me to understand the market and so on. And I remember that I asked him to give me the chance of having a contact with the sales people of distributors, and going to visit restaurants, and going even at lunchtime to visit 3 restaurants, one at 11 o'clock, the second one at 1 o'clock.
Were you mainly going to Italian restaurants?
At the time, principally, yes, absolutely. Principally, the Italian restaurant did a fantastic work to help the knowledge.
So why, so this is around 79, 80. Why were you focusing on New York or the United States so early when America was not ready for expensive, high-quality Italian wines?
Look, I was lucky. I believe that I had no idea at the time. It was just we did just the choice to invest in 2 countries at the time, the United States principally, and the country speaking German language, Germany, German, Switzerland, and Austria. But was United States that I had the impression that it could possible to build and to create some steps. And even at the time, I remember that we started with, for example, Felidia or some restaurants that were interested to have behind the wines that were from Italy that they were selling, to have something being upgraded. And my function was to visit this restaurant, to introduce myself, to explain who I was, and to try to create a kind of friendship. That was
so. How much time were you spending in the United States?
A lot of time. I believe that often I was spending 3 weeks all together, but I came here at least 2 or 3 times a year.
Well, correct me, but I seem to recall at one point, probably in the early 80s, you actually moved to San Francisco. And if my memory serves me right, I said, well, why are you moving to San Francisco? And you said, because I want to learn to speak English.
Yes, I never learned English, but I went there in San Francisco in 85, and we moved in February, all the family, my wife with Gaja and Rosanna, my 2 daughters that at that time were 6 and 4 years old, yes, for a month. And I went to school. And I tried to learn English, never successful. It's always a disaster and so on. But it was a good experience, and even during that time, I had the chance of visiting different wineries to create contact, principally with Mondavi, with Robert Mondavi.
You just got a little bit ahead of me. I was going to say, and while you were there, you met and became friends with a guy that probably changed your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that is the guy that has not only changed my life. I believe that in all the wineries that now are selling all over the world, more than 10 or 15 million bottles, they had a maestro, and the maestro was Robert Mondavi. Robert Mondavi was an incredible man.
Do you remember when you first read Robert Mondavi?
I met first time in 74. My first trip to California was in 74.
Yeah.
And I remember that at that time...
you went to the winery? Or?
I went to the winery, and Zelma Long was the winemaker at the time.
So you met
was
in
the
74.
First contact.
Okay, so Robert Mondavi in 74 was not Robert Mondavi in the 90s. He was a maverick. He was thrown out of his own family.
He was yes.
What?
But he was a man that had in mind that it could be possible even to produce super quality wines in volume. In our mind, in the 70s, not only mine, but even for many French producers, we had the idea that the only chance for producing high-quality wine was limited to a specific vineyard and the quantity of specific vineyard. That's all. In Robert starting thinking that it could be possible, even producing quality-wise, high quality-wise in volume. How to do? Surely having suppliers of grapes that could be followed by their people, telling them how to make a better quality grapes and so on, and to select. It was incredible, and even trying in a cellar different method. And he was a researcher. It was a laboratory. Incredible.
So obviously, there was the whole issue of innovation in winemaking.
Not only not only innovation in winemaking. He was the first to write on advertisement, drink by moderation. I never heard Italian wine producers to ask people, drink by moderation. Drink as much as possible that we make money, not drink by moderation. And even he started inviting chefs from Europe to create even the idea that the wine has to be matched with food.
I was just going to list a number of things that he was focused on, but now that we're looking back, and this is 40, 50 years ago, what are the one or two or three things that you learned from him that may have had an impact on you building your business?
To have to have courage, to be available to think different. That was already the message that my father gave me. But I learned, I believe that I learned from him this message. Be able to think different. Don't be limited only to your tradition, but be able to look and to see outside and to learn. Absolutely important. And even in the way that I believe that was a man that had a great respect of wine. And all this attitude in saying drink by moderation, in helping consumers to understand that the best way to drink wine is with food, matching wine and food, indispensable. So absolutely a visionary, a man that for me was more than a maestro.
So how did it happen that in 1985, on the cover of the Wine Spectator, there's a picture of you and Robert Mondavi?
Yes, but you and
15,
and was
30,
written.
wait, 24, 23.
And was written
38 years ago.
It was written the meeting of the minds. I thank you very much, but the mind was only him. He was the mind. Absolutely, great guy. Absolutely.
Well,
but even Margaret, he had the wife was absolutely unique, always protecting him and always close to him and helping him and giving absolutely a fantastic couple.
I don't mean to shame you, but you and he are very much alike. And I was very close to Robert Mondavi going back to the very beginning. And you and he shared a personality, a vision, a drive, a curiosity that was so powerful that you each were able to achieve in your respective countries something that very few people do in a lifetime. And the fact that you found each other was a blessing far greater than you probably realized at the time.
Is because I believe that he is because of his suggestion and the vision and so on, that I did the steps in early 90s, expanding Gaja, our business, to Tuscany, to Bolgheri and the Brunello di Montalcino, and but is an energy. He gave me energy, incredible.
All right, so I'm going to go back to the early days, but before I do that, Mondavi, Mouton, Opus 1. there are a number of joint ventures in Napa with foreign owners. Have you ever thought about doing something in Napa Valley or in California?
I had the many invitations, and I believe that sometime I had not courage enough, and I didn't do, and I believe that I did a mistake. In the life, it is important even to recognize it, to understand that when you do a mistake. I did it in not in refusing, not going deep in trying to do steps that at the time were perfectly available. But it's because of that I started the 2 operations in Tuscany and so on, and expanding and so on. And I would like to leave the message to children to be open, to be prepared eventually in the future. What I didn't do, they have to be able to do. I have the lucky of having 3 children in the winery, all 3, working
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. So you read about Piero Antinori buying Stag's Leap. Huge.
Big.
I mean,
super. I believe I knew Warren Vignaschi for a long time, and I had with him a very deep contact and so on. And I had a great admiration of him, of his daughter, and so on. And I didn't know that he was available to sell. He was a man so rich of humor, of sense of humor, fantastic. And when I asked him about his future, he was telling me that he was having confidence in his daughter and so on. And after, when I knew that Piero bought, I did fantastic.
So what was your reaction when you heard the news?
No, I believe that this is something good for Italy.
Did you ever?
Absolutely.
Did you ever pick up the phone and call Piero?
No, I called him. Yes, absolutely. Because
what did you say?
Yes, this is a fantastic step that you did it. And but even he did Piero, the vision of Antinori is fantastic. And even when they bought Yerman, is another, the Italian, the best, the most important wine producers for white wines in Italy. Chapeau. Absolutely.
So, in preparing for this interview, I'm reading, and I realized something that I never knew. Your father turned the winery over to you to run when you were 21.
Okay,
that's what my notes say.
Sorry, can you repeat this?
You were born in 1940.
40, yes.
In 1961, you took over the winery. That's what my research says. 21. What the hell do you know when you're 21 to take over a winery that's in the 4th generation?
No, exactly. Let me say, in 21, my father asked me to work in the vineyards for almost 4 years. I worked by hands in the vineyards.
Oh, at 21 you worked in the vineyard?
Yes.
The research says you took over the winery.
Not exactly. They say that, but my father didn't give me the chance immediately to get in the winery, but he asked me to work in the vineyards. And I believe that was a very important step to know, to understand what's happening there with the vineyard workers, and even to understand another aspect that is important for people agriculture, working in agriculture field. So people have, they know about, and they know that their richness is their soil, but all what they do depend by weather. So, it's not for people like you, like all the people that is working in offices and so on. What you do, you know exactly what you do, and the success that derives for what.
All right, so your father was still running the winery in 61.
He ran the winery practically till 68, 67, 68. And after I joined there at that time, and in a short time, I looked for enologist, and that joined the winery in the 70s. And we did together with the enologist, but I looked more to the market. Despite I was investigating, and because I had the knowledge in what was happening in the vineyards, was very important that because when I am talking, when I was talking with my vineyard manager that knows more than me, but I know exactly what I am talking about.
So in the 60s,
yes,
when you're working in the vineyards,
yes,
tell me about the Gaja winery. Then, not now.
the Gaja winery at that time was producing exclusively Barbaresco, a small amount of bottles, and this was the dream of my father. Let me say even about my father. My father joined the winery in 35. He was 27 years old, and immediately had in mind to produce a wine that had to be able to compete Barbaresco, to compete to Barolo. Impossible. At that time, absolutely impossible, because Barbaresco had no reputation like today, absolutely, and the only wine that had the reputation was Barolo. But what did my father? At that time, there were 3 vintages out of 10 that the grapes were perfectly ripe. All the other vintages were medium or very low quality. So what he did, he excluded the 7, 8 other vintages, selling the wine in bulk at potato prices, and keeping exclusively the 2, 3 that were the best. And he was using these wines of these 2, 3 vintages out of 10 to create his, that he was called Vecchia Riserva, not having old reserve, not having the vintage on the bottle. But it was successful because this wine was, of course, comparing the other.
Your father was ahead of his time.
No, yes, was incredible. I was blessed. I had a father that was not only a maestro, but was a man that was able to fix on the already in the market the brand Gaja. And we are lucky because is a short name with this J.
No, but I don't know if you remember. Of course you remember. What am I talking about? The label on the bottle was like the headlights, you're glaring.
Visible.
I mean, it's like if there's 50 bottles of wine on a shelf, and there's one label, it was like
the bottle.
It was like the circus was in town.
He had that. It's not my idea. Was his idea, because in 37 he had a label that was a label with the color yellow. That I remember that Schoenmaker, that was a selector,
French
Schoenmaker,
right.
Selecting grapes and wine. He came to visit the winery in '66, and as he joined the winery, was the early afternoon. He told me that he tasted Barbaresco 61, and he was so impressed that he asked me, "How many bottles you have?" Sorry, how many bottles you have? Are not all for you. Just a minute.
Yeah.
And even my English was poor. I didn't understand him well, absolutely. And after he asked me that he liked to put on the label that on the bottles that he liked to buy a strip with the
Schoenmaker selection.
And I didn't understand. I believed that he had to put this on my front label and so on. And I did a mistake in my life, many. I did a mistake, and I became aggressive with him. And at the time, he told me that the yellow label at the time, that was the label of my father, was a label good for olive oil. Oh my God! So I lost the opportunity. But coming back to my father, so he had the idea of having this in 37. Is a label of Barbaresco with the Gaja written in red character, big, and what was his meaning? The idea to tell consumers, you believe that Barbaresco is an underdog, but this is the Barbaresco of Gaja. It's a different wine. And he did it. So I had the chance of having a maestro that gave me a big help. And when I started in the winery, he pretended he was right to have me working first in the vineyards, because the land is our most important heritage that we have. And after introducing slowly in the winery and in the market.
Okay. So it's the late 60s, and you're now beginning to take over. Your father is gradually giving you more and more responsibility. What were the priorities and the changes you made in the beginning of your tenure to move the Gaja in a newer direction?
First, having a collaborator in the cellar that was prepared, was able to work there for 45 years, working very well for making the Gaja wines behind me. First. Second, to renovate as much as possible quickly the winery, and not having staying with the mind that the big old casks were the best in making wine and so on, and reducing even the time aging, and not having wines staying there for 7, 8, or 10 years and shorter and so on, recuperating clarity to the wines in a way, not having wines that sometimes had a little smell that was not proper and so on. But even because at that time we had no vineyards in Barolo district, and because we stopped buying grapes, because we liked to have the control of our grapes, our work in the vineyards. So owning the vineyards, that was a little bit unusual at the time, owning the vineyards, working in the vineyards hard to create quality grapes that could be transformed in a high quality wine. Because at the time we didn't own vineyards in the Barolo area, I started having idea that it could be useful to introduce in Barbaresco some international grape variety. That happened everywhere in the world. Everywhere we're introducing. But in Barbaresco, it seemed to be outrageous to introduce Chardonnay and Cabernet Sauvignon. But even in small quantity, hoping to be able in producing a high-quality Chardonnay, high-quality Cabernet Sauvignon, and introducing in the world to consumers not Italian, that had more knowledge about Chardonnay, more knowledge about Cabernet Sauvignon than Nebbiolo, and trying to reach and to open doors to these consumers
What year,
to buy Barbaresco.
What years was this?
We planted our first vineyard, the Cabernet Sauvignon, in 78, and the first vineyard of Chardonnay in 79.
Well, all right, so if my memory serves me right, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, when I went there to visit you in
80,
you
sorry.
I'm gonna accept 80, even though in my mind it's
okay. I remember perfectly. In February 80.
Okay, I probably got it wrong, but my memory says you told me that you had hidden away Cabernet vines.
Yes, exactly.
But that you couldn't discuss it, and I wasn't allowed to write about it, and because you were breaking the law if we ever planted Cabernet, and it was our secret.
No, but you're right. But this was incredible because, when I visited California in '74, the interest for Cabernet Sauvignon was already extended in Napa and so on. It was growing and so on. And in other countries, there were great growers, producers start to introduce Cabernet Sauvignon because we know perfectly and so on. So, but I had hesitation. I didn't know what could happen there, and even I had a little bit of contrast with my father. But my father was super bad. I never had to fight to him, but he tried to. Of course, when he had a different idea from mine, he was used to telling me, but not fighting. But maybe repeating, telling me that I could do a mistake introducing Cabernet Sauvignon in Barbaresco area, in Barbaresco village, when we had already the king variety there that was considered Nebbiolo. Yeah. Why to do that? So it's only when he knew that finally I planted the Cabernet Sauvignon that I didn't say.
So you did plant it in 78?
78.
You never told me that. You told me you had the vines hidden in the barn
In
or the warehouse.
finally in February 78, we planted the Cabernet Sauvignon. My father, when he knew that he did it, he said Darmaggi, that from a French word, what a shame, what a pity for having planted, but stop there and never fight it. And I always respected this. I had a great respect of this man that was able even to understand that the new generation joining the winery, you have to give them the right to go on with their own project. It's not possible to have children entering and joining the property, the winery or the family business and pretending that they have to do exactly what the father or grandfather did it. No chance.
Tradition versus innovation.
Yes, absolutely.
So before we talk about the future, you're talking about production. And I, as a marketing person, could never understand how you ended up today selling a bottle of Italian wine for $600, $800, $1,000 a bottle. And it like crept up on me over the years. You were always way more expensive than anybody else. When did this, was a pricing strategy part of your plan? Was it just your yields were lower, it cost you more, therefore you needed to charge a higher price in order to stay in? What was behind the aggressive pricing for your wines 30 years ago, 20 years ago, today?
Well, of course, is the consequence from a side of the reputation that the winery was able to achieve continuously in the market. First, is question of availability of quantity, and even not to accept, despite the demand was growing, to extend and to produce more quantity, but even to stress the quantity and to be more severe and to try in what we do to make something absolutely original, unique. And probably the consumers, our consumers, in some way, they accepted and they understood the message.
Didn't you ever have price resistance where you raised your price and there was...
Of course there is a price resistance. There is a price resistance, but there are even other partners, people working with us that have respect and that they believe that what we are doing is done in a good way and in good steps. Sorry. What did happen for French wines that are able that had that achieved prices, high prices, and so on? I believe that is the consequence of a philosophy, of an attitude that is recognized in the market, and the consumers have a confidence, sort of consumers, a certain number of consumers, not all, are available to accept and to join and happy to continue buying these wines.
Okay, what role, what impact did the prices charged by Romani Conti, by First Growths from Bordeaux and so forth, were you wanting to, was that a factor in your pricing?
I cannot compete with this monster of wines like the one Romani Conti and so on that are incredible for what they did. It's true that is a consequence of attitude that we have staying in the market, giving messages that are understood by consumers, having a great respect and dignity, respecting the dignity of wines. What does it mean for us to respect the dignity of wines? Single vineyards, we don't bottle every year. we refused the bottling the single vineyards, losing completely even the money and so on, in the villages that we considered that the quality was not there. And this attitude is respected and is accepted, and we received the compliment for doing that. So there is many steps that help and consolidate the reputation of the winery and the availability of consumers to be and to accept. But I don't believe that we have to pretend and to say that we are producing the best wines in the world. I believe that what we have to be able is to make wines that is possible to recognize where they are coming from. So from Barbaresco, from Barolo, from Montalcino, from Bolgheri, next from Etna, through the expression of the grape variety, and if it's possible, with an expression of style of our wines that has to be that the consumers can recognize. I believe that this is important. And after, not to pretend to be pleased to everybody. We know that we have consumers that are not our friends, and we have a great respect of them. And we have to be even able to listen what they say and so on. And we take care more to the, of course, consumers that are close to us. The step that we did, especially in the last 10 years, is because of the consequence of climate change, is not to run after opulence, not to make big wines. We are facilitating that because Nebbiolo makes I don't say slim wines, but maybe elegant wines, not rich of body and so on. And we follow and we believe that for Barbaresco especially, this attitude of making wines less rich of body, but having the composite in perfect, in very good harmony, and staying not big, but a little bit slim. We believe in our future. It happens often that there are judges that probably don't accept, or they would like to see even our wines more bigger.
Barbaresco has a character and a taste.
Different. Bravissimo, different from Barolo. I believe that, especially in the last century, it happened, probably even us, we do, that the reference was Barolo, and we tried to make a Barbaresco more similar to Barolo, maybe with even with barriques, stressing the quantity, trying during the fermentation to extract as much as possible, and so on. We don't do more now. And we believe that in this meaning, in our opinion, maybe that we are wrong, Barbaresco can be one of the most classic wine from Italy.
It certainly can. It does. It is. I mean,
we believe believe in that.
When you taste it, you know what it is because it's distinctive. In totality, all the brands, what is the approximate production?
What quantity
of the Gaja winery?
It's close in Barbaresco for Barbaresco, Barolo, and the other ones that we produce there in Montalcino, and in Bolgheri we are closing between 900 and 950,000 bottles, a little less than 1 million bottles.
So how many cases that say?
Cases?
Cases.
Oh, sorry.
80,000, 90,000?
Yes, 80,000 cases.
Do you see expanding outside of the areas that you're already in?
I would like, I asked to my children to stay with the eyes open at the ears and to be understand, and to see if in the future there will be availability for small operation, not a big operation that a maximum can produce 150 to 200,000 bottles eventually, and slowly, step by step, but something unique, and always in the character, in the category of what I say elegant wines. Sorry, I am very I am embarrassed to talk about elegant today. everybody are producing elegant wines. If you ask people, and even for some time for wines that in our opinion are big and so on, and that the producers are talking about elegance. So there are, even in consumers, the perception of elegance is different.
How, you're 83.
Yes. I am 83. I am very close 84. I know that eternity, doesn't exist.
I wasn't going there. I don't want to know how long.
No, sorry. And I am slowly approaching, but I am not in a hurry.
Right.
I have a lot of patience.
So how active are you still in the business?
Full. I am in good health.
Yeah.
I work almost 10 hours a day. And without work, I would become crazy.
All right. So you have 3 children in the business.
Yes. I am very lucky.
So describe to me the role of each one of them.
Yes.
Because obviously it's complicated.
No. Well, Gaja did a fantastic work in the market. She is very good, and she was able to travel in different markets, but especially in the United States, and introducing and promoting our wines and so on with importers. Very, very good. Recently, she's becoming a little bit tired of having all this because we have no helpers. Sorry. We are, our Gaja and now Giovanni are the only one being in the market promoting our wines in the market, international market. No, so why that? Why they are facilitated to do that? Because their name is Gaja. They have Gaja written here, and when they are we're proposing, they are the owner of the winery, and and more Rossana that is taking care of the Gaja distribution, and that takes care of the domestic market. But I asked them, you have your work in a specific area, but you have to work hard to try to know as much as possible of other sectors. So you have to know about viticulture, you have to know about the winemaking process, you have to know, because if you like to be artisan, and I believe that they have artisanal people, you have to know as much as possible, 360 degrees, not becoming expert everywhere. You will be expert in your field.
So when they were growing up,
yes,
when they were teenagers, when they went to college, did they know that they wanted to go into the wine business? Was it always assumed, or was it something that just happened?
It happened with Gaja was the first that initially had no idea to come to the winery, but after a stage that she had in the United States, and she worked initially she worked for Prada, the fashion company and so on, but after some time she couldn't stay there because she had no license to stay, and she had to look for another work. And a friend of mine pushed her to go in a wine shop. And she started in a wine shop, of course, being the name Gaja. Was a good introduction.
I got to ask you, why did you call her Gaja?
Why? It's a good name. Sorry, it's a beautiful name.
I mean, I'm not Italian, but is there a name that Gaja like?
Some of my friends told me you called the Gaja because is the first of your children, and you were not sure to have other children, and the way not to lose Gaja name, you gave her the name Gaja. No, sorry. But she had a big impact. She at the end she decided to work for the winery, and when she did this choice, the other two, Rossana and Giovanni, were able to follow. But let me say something. It's something that I say often. For the agriculture, for the artisanal wineries, we have in Piedmont a large number of artisanal wineries producing 20, 30, 50,000 bottles, small, but working very well and very hard. They represent a very important heritage. It's quite important to teach them how to prepare the transfer of the company from fathers to children. They have to to understand the culture of transferring the property. Absolutely, it belongs not to be available easily because at the moment they don't know what can happen and how to split the company among the children and to be obliged to sell. This is a big mistake. They have to be prepared to prepare the transition. Absolutely, and it's a culture that has to enter in the family. And I always spoke with my children and so on. You have to be prepared, and every 2-3 years we have written the conditions that they have to respect, and we review and so on, and we talk together. And I transferred already the property to the children. So quite important that is, in a way, to have them and not to contrast them to go on with their own project that sometimes are not exactly mine. So I have to be tolerant, patient, to try to understand, and to be able to tell them if I have something.
So there is a succession plan.
Absolutely fundamental.
Okay, is one of them the heir apparent to Angelo?
One
of them the heir apparent to Angelo Gaja? There's 3 kids. Are they equal, or one be in charge?
I still don't know. I'm very sorry. A lot of people is telling me that I have to be able to choose who will be the follower. At the moment, I am unprepared. And maybe
they will choose.
Maybe they will choose. Exactly. I hope strongly, and I try. For me, what is important, differently than my father. My father was not used talking to me about his knowledge and about the work that he was doing. He was silent, not because he was jealous, because he believed that everybody had to know that, that was common sense and so on. I speak to my children a lot of time, and they send SMS, and they send written what I'm thinking. I hope that they will be able to read all what the suggestions that I give, advices that I give them, and I try to prepare as much as possible.
Grandchildren?
2. From Rossana has 2 little boy, 8 and 6 years old. Gaja is not married. I believe that she's contrary the marriage. And Giovanni is 30 years old. We see what will be happening.
Well, Giovanni's got to get on the stick.
Absolutely, yes.
What?
But even can I say something about the future?
No, you can't say about the future. Of course you can talk about the future.
The climate change is has given benefits and preoccupation. From a side, comparing last century, in this century we never had so many villages that the grapes were perfectly ripe and healthy. I remember in the past, it could happen that the grapes were not ripe, and during September, October, a lot of rain, destroying the quality and so on. Disaster completely. No more now. In the last 20 years, never happened, rarely. And we had practically 9 villages out of 10 with excellent quality, excellent wines and so on. Even too much, because the heat is pushing up the alcohol, perfectly. And so we have to be able to manage. But from many sides, were a good opportunity. From the other side, we have illnesses, new illnesses coming, and from even foreign countries, and becoming aggressive with the vineyards, and becoming difficult to have a control. And even if in the past we were used to having a summertime, the real summertime, in June and July, and after August was the month of transition, the temperature were going down slowly but continuously, and preparing the autumn. Now we have even full Eastern in June, July, full Eastern in August, full Easter in September, and even it's at the end, at the half of October, is still Easter. Too much, And this what creates the grapes become often dried grapes, and the sugar inside increases too much. So we have to be able to manage this. Is not so easy, but we will do our best, and we keep it we maintain it to be optimistic.
So you've accomplished a lot. You've made a lot of friends around the world.
You are the first. Important one.
Well, what's on your bucket list?
What?
What's on your bucket list? What have you not achieved that you would like to do while you're still here? It's called a bucket list.
I believe, I am very sorry, I believe to have been lucky. And lucky because I had the teachers, my grandmother, my father. Lucky because I had maestri like Mondavi, but many. I had many maestri that I could learn. Lucky because I had a wife, Lucia, that made 3 children and was able to grow up when I was for a long time outside from the camp, from the home and so on, and still working in the office almost 10 hours a day, that I became a little bit aggressive because I would like she took care of me much more and not of the office. But chapeau. And after having 3 children that are all in the company and so on, what I can like more, to have more, I believe it's enough for me.
So, final question. And I asked this question of Ernest Gallo when I interviewed him in 1999, when he was 90 years old on his birthday. And after you answer it, I'll tell you what he said. He was Italian too.
No, okay.
100 years from now, there's a book, big book. The book is called The Encyclopedia of Wine. It's a historical document. And we go to, it's in alphabetical order, we go to, I guess, G. And there's the name Angelo Gaja. What do you want it to say in the book? How do you want to be remembered?
Like a producer, an Italian producer, proud to be Italian, that had a big help by the reputation that Italy was able to achieve by in improving quality vision about Italian wines in the last 40 years, and that this helped to pushing up Gaja on the top of the pyramid. But it was the energy from the bottom that went up.
So when I asked Ernest,
what did he say? A few words.
And his answer
I am
was,
longer.
After a long pause, he said, "I was there."
Oh, look at there. Chapeau.
So listen.
Very, very sure. This is the essential of it.
We have known each other 44 years.
Incredible. You were another great maestro for me. Thank you. And you gave me the chance. You gave me the chance to jump up on your prestigious stage at the New York Wine Experience. Let me say, and then never talking about wine, because I refused always putting the nose in the glass, and you gave me the chance of talking of other things and not explaining about the wine. Thank you.
All right, I got to one last story, then we're done, because it really belongs there. I, for years, tried to, by the way, the New York Wine Experience, which is this weekend, that's why you're in New York, it's 42 years.
Yes.
We go back before the Wine Experience. But for years, I wanted you to speak, and you would never speak. You said you can't speak English, nor do I understand. And finally, I got you to agree to speak. I don't remember what year. It was a long time.
93. First time that I jump up there was 93.
And I'll never forget it as long as I live because it was so memorable. It's so vivid to me right now. You agreed to speak. You got up there. Normally, I always sat in the first row to hear all the speakers.
Sorry, with Robert Mondavi, Michael Broadbent, you were there all. As your wife.
When you went to speak, I went up in the balcony because I just wanted to watch. I wanted to be a fly on the wall. And I'd never done that for anyone before or since. I was just in the balcony by myself, listening to you, watching you, and I'll never forget as long as I live. When it was all over, normally there's like 900, 1,000 people. They just march out of the room. It was all over, and I saw something I've never seen before. You were standing at the podium, and there was a line of people who attended your tasting all the way to the back room. There had to be 300 people waiting in line as though they're waiting to kiss the hand of the Pope. No, I don't know where, I had always this, let me finish. I always had a view of you of a unique, special person who lived a life almost religiously. But I didn't know that there were hundreds, thousands of people out there that treasured you the way they obviously did. So when I saw this line that went, and people waited in line for 20, 30 minutes to get a chance to just say, well, to this day, it's one of the greatest memories of my life at the wine experience.
Thank you. This happened thanks to you that gave me the chance of being there and so on. And despite I wasn't able to speak English and so on, but the people was so special and were so nice to give me the chance to have their shaking hand and saying some words. And I remember always. I would like to say that during the afternoon on Thursday and Friday, when people is there, is only New York, that is so large a number of people and so on. I believe that always I consider that my duty was to stay back my booth, because in honor and to be to thank the people that comes there and to shake hand, to do. Unfortunately, I don't like selfies, but okay. But they like it to be,
and to them, it was one of the highlights of the wine experience to meet the owners, the winemakers, the personalities.
I believe that our duty is to stay there.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay.
Well, it's 2023. Hopefully, we're going to get together for many, many years to come.
Thank you.
But know that...
Marvin, thank you for all. And I believe that your magazine did a very important work. It was the first to talk about, to give, to make a culture and to sell culture to your readers about the wine region, about the history of wine producers, about the area to visit, the town and so on, where it's possible to find good quality wines and so on, and to help consumers to understand that, restaurants to understand that it's possible to make money with wine and keeping the wine correctly and having the right glasses and so on. You did a work fantastic. We have to thank you. Thank you.
To love, to friendship.
Thanks a lot.
For many, many years to come.
Many years of good health.
Good health.
No publication covers the world of wine as completely as Wine Spectator, featuring exclusive interviews with winemaking's living legends and the world's finest chefs. Each issue of Wine Spectator magazine takes readers to the world's greatest vineyards and most interesting dining destinations. Most important, Wine Spectator rates and reviews thousands of wines each year. With an incredible database of over 400,000 wine reviews, Wine Spectator's editors guide you to the highest quality wines as well as the world's best values. There's a reason Wine Spectator is the world's most widely read wine magazine. Take your wine enjoyment to greater heights and subscribe today at winespectator.com.